Well, hi everybody, this is Steve, D9 Games. Wanted to come up with something that kind of piggybacks the North Shore adventure. So I threw that out there. If you saw Adventure 1, the North Shore, that was something that I just whipped up on the fly to basically show you how I would run something from scratch for my group. But that was more of the prep video. This one might be step 2 on how to actually run it. So let's use the Timbersprout 5 as our example. And as you might already know, it's the Timbersprout 4 now because Rupert was killed in the final sequence of that campaign. So here we are at the Burgett. I know it looks very much like the tavern in Hoden Bay, but this is the tavern that the Timbersprout folk built, which Rupert called the Burgett in memory of his girl. And in the back in the corner there, in the little alcove, you see a statue memorial of Rupert and Burgett, who both died in battle to protect the good people of Albion. So here they are. There are 6 in the meeting in the back. Let's see if I can't zoom in a little bit. So we've got 6 of them in the meeting in the back. I see Ezra, Isabel, Edward, Bastian, Blake, and Sam. So there's 6. 4 of the Timbersprout 5 plus Ezra, who's the main wizard NPC. Whoa, sorry about that. And then Isabel, who's kind of like the 6th wheel to the Timbersprout 5. But here we are on season 2, and the group, Ezra's definitely staying in Timbersprout. Things are not peaceful enough for him to venture out. There's too many innocent here that he needs to protect. Isabel normally would stay as well, but in this case, we're going to call Isabel the 5th member of the new and improved Timbersprout 5. So we're going to send Isabel, Edward, the priest, Blake, our scout, who I believe is a ranger by now. They're all like level 5, 6. Sam, our assassin rogue, and Bastian, the heavy shield fighter guard. So we've got our new Timbersprout 5. Rest in peace, Rupert. But you're probably in a better place, seeing how evil and devastating this Albion is. All right, so how I would do the North Shore, and we'll keep it a little tropic here. We're going to start in the tavern. And in the tavern, we've got Edward and his cult followers. I call it a cult. Edward's our priest, but he's holier than thou and not too impressed with some of the decisions of the Timbersprout 5, so he's involved, but from time to time he'll go out and try to win the hearts of the greater people of Albion. So he has his followers here. There's probably 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. They're all around the tavern, hanging out, waiting to see what's next. That they follow Edward, of course. And in the Enlightened system, the fighter has a role-playing talent called Leader, where he or she could win the hearts of others to their cause. And so normally what we would do is we would roll 3 dice to see, because a fighter would be rolling with ease, how many followers he could bring along. And those could be Timbersprout guards, Timbersprout scouts, or whatever's clever. But seeing they don't have a fighter, they have a guard, they have a scout, a rogue, a mage, and a priest. So without having a fighter, they're going to say, that's okay. We can still attempt to rally the cause and see if we can earn the hearts of some people here in Timbersprout to go with us to the North Shore, or as they're going to later find out, is the island of Ganal. So let's do a roll here. I'll see if I can get it in the view. I roll a 4, which isn't going to succeed on anybody's ability to win the hearts of others. So it looks like in this case, the Timbersprout 5 will be going with 5 plus Edward's cult followers. So that's it. No extra scouts, guards, or fighters. Bummer, but that's how this game goes. If you have a fighter in the group, they would be rolling with ease for that roll. And whatever they win by, that's how many people would be following to give them a hand on their journey. And that could come into play rather well. Now, how I would run these cult followers of Edward or any other NPCs, I guess they would be called, that were going to help the group, I would run them as a 2-hit minion. So if there happens to be a battle or some kind of encounter where there could be some pain and suffering, 1 hit would take them down to the last notch, and then a 2nd hit, they would die heroically in battle on the adventure. So here we are at the Brigette. We have our statues of Rupert and Brigette. We have a meeting going on where Ezra is trying to give him his best wisdom. He advises that Edward and Isabel go along. The adventurers are definitely going to need their help. And Edward is warning that there's a possible orange elixir use threat in the area, and he has a tip to investigate an island west of Wormwood, which we will find out is the Ganal Island. And then they'll be entering in on the North Shore. Now, not to railroad anybody, like I've said before, but that's the adventure that we have. And the Timbersprout 5 in this case are what I would call cooperative players, and they're fired up and excited that the game master has anything prepared at all, and they are willing to help Edward in his cause to reduce the use of this vampiric orange elixir. But that's just the rumor. Edward knows how to get to the island roughly. He's hoping he can get a guide in a boat in Wormwood, which is west of Timbersprout. It's about a day, maybe a day and a half journey west northwest. So west, but a little bit of north in there, headed out to the coast where Wormwood was established maybe a decade ago, and it's been about 15 years since the Timbersprout 5 have adventured, but they are kind of frozen because they were not adventuring. They were not gaining a tremendous amount of pop or experience, so they haven't got to that adventuring life meter level, and they're able to move forward at about level 600 pop worth. And of course, they're excited to add a few things to their stats and see what they can do. So they equip up, they agree to get this done, they enjoy a drink and a kumbaya here in the tavern before they head out to Wormwood. Now, on my notes, because you know I have the North Shore all divvied up on my notes, I had to go backwards a little bit, and then I whipped this up where you can see it talks about the Brigette, Rupert and the Brigette statues, Edward warns the party, and then they're going to try to rally troops, but there's no fighter, so a standard roll was rolled, and success ? No. So now off to Wormwood to find a boat and or a guide to the island of Ganal. So you can see the green T here, that's Timbersprout. There's typically goblin activity in the south, orc to the north. There's a cult castle they know about a little bit west, southwest. But then Wormwood, like I said, is west, northwest. So they're going to head to Wormwood. You're going to do, with a day and a half journey, you might do 1, maybe 2 rolls to see if there's any type of encounters. Now, I don't have any bullet points in there, so that might be more of a random table if you typically use a random table. You could say there's a 20% chance, so if you roll a D9, maybe on an 8 or a 9, there is kind of a scuffle between some orcs and goblins, and they can just go around or they can get involved. Depends on their feelings for either group. Now, orcs are kind of like a version of Fomorian or Troll in our campaign, so they might be on the friendly side with them. I think this group's a little more on the friendly side of goblins because it's been a little while since Rupert kicked them all out of Timbersprout for mingling with the Timbersproutian ladies. Okay, so anyway, they're off to Wormwood. They're going to look for a guide and a boat ride over to the island of Ganal, which will get them to the North Shore adventure. And again, you can have a random encounter, you can have something that makes sense out that way. And then coming into Wormwood, the standings of Timbersprout and Wormwood are not the best. They're both Celts generally, but Wormwood left Timbersprout many, many years ago because they didn't like the way things were going down. So they might have to do some mental rolls or some kind of convincing of them to stay, rest, and look for a guide. So that's where you're at. That's how you would run it. Next time I perhaps will do a video which will show like an encounter. So maybe we'll say they met up with some resistance on the way to Wormwood. I can whip out an encounter and show you how we go around the table in simple turn order and deal with that as well. But we were able to attempt a roll for rallying the troops. We failed, so they're going to be a little short-handed, and you can play that into your encounter creation as well. So where they're about a level 5, let's say, group, 5 times 5 is 25. You've got these 2-hit minions that are the cultist followers of Edward. You can make them a little powerful, maybe hard to hit, but not a lot of hit points, like I said, 2-hit minion. But 5 times 5 is 25, and then you got about 8 or 9 of these guys. So it's about a 30-35 if you had to put a number on it. And then when you have an encounter, you're going to want to make it a little harder. Make it like a 40, so like 10 level 4s would be a good one, where they bump into this group of cultists who are kind of wandering north of the cult castle, and they're looking for some sacrifices. Or maybe there's a bunch of thugs that want to beat them up and take their loot. Or like I said, one of my favorites is to have them encounter another couple of factions, maybe orcs and goblins, battling it out to where they don't even need to be there. Or they see the battle in the distance, and what they don't notice is they kind of stumble across one of those two factions resting up in between battles, and they're a little bit perturbed that this group is stumbling in on them, and they just want to wipe them out. So there's a lot of different things you can do. Again, balance isn't always the key, but it's a fun place to start. And the fact that they weren't able to rally troops might give you the heads up to make it a difficult encounter on the way to Wormwood. Maybe so difficult that they need to take a long rest or an off season in Wormwood, and then that might cause things at the North Shore to escalate. An off season is a couple of months, so if they end up to where they're just hurting and they need to take an off season in Wormwood, that's going to put them a couple months behind schedule, getting to where this the rumor of this orange elixir is being used at the North Shore, and we'll get into more of who and where that's being used there. But things that escalate always make it more difficult. Now, if they're able to get to Wormwood without a scratch, they get a guide, they roll good, they're on the boat, they get to the North Shore. Now you're going to keep the North Shore about a level under their abilities because they earned it. They earned it with good rolls, maybe good decisions on their adventuring, and then we'll go from there. So this is just the start. This will be maybe episode 1 of the Timbersprout 5 Season 2, where they're starting in their tavern in Timbersprout, the Braguette, and you can see that axe in the middle of the floor over there. That might have been an axe from a troll that came in, or a giant, or a Fomorian, and he left his axe in the ground, and nobody can seem to get it out of the ground. It's in there pretty deep. So anyway, I hope I didn't ramble too bad, and I hope some of that gets your juices flowing creatively for the North Shore Adventure 1. Everybody, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Until next time. Peace.